Ferrari universe like a meteor crashing into a calm lake, creating ripples of excitement, skepticism, and anticipation across the Formula One world. This is not just any driver swap. This is the most decorated driver in F1 history joining the most legendary team in motorsport. Expectations are through the roof, and with Hamilton already pinpointing areas of concern with the SF25, the question everyone is asking is simple. Is Ferrari in trouble, or is this just the beginning of something truly special? Hamilton is known for his meticulous approach, and he wasted no time in getting under the skin of his new machine. His first experience in the SF25 at Ferrari wasn't just about getting comfortable. It was about forcing the car to bend to his will. Unlike a typical driver who adapts to the machine, Hamilton operates differently. He demands adjustments that allow him to extract every last drop of performance. This means tweaking pedal sensitivity, refining brake response, and making subtle yet critical changes to engine mapping. And while this might sound like standard procedure for any top-tier driver, at Ferrari, it's shaking things up in ways no one quite expected. The biggest shock came from Hamilton's lap times, 0.8 seconds slower than expected. Now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, let's be clear. This doesn't mean the SF25 is slow. It means Hamilton and Ferrari are still ironing out the kinks. Ferrari immediately went into overdrive, analyzing every microsecond of telemetry, dissecting every turn, and evaluating exactly where the car wasn't meeting Hamilton's expectations. The reaction from within the team has been divided. Some see Hamilton's arrival as the best thing that's happened to Ferrari since Michael Schumacher, a much-needed revolution that could finally push the Scuderia back to the top. Others, not so much. Ferrari has a deeply ingrained culture, one that isn't always receptive to outside influences. We've seen this story before. Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel both tried to reshape Ferrari in their image, and neither succeeded. Will Hamilton suffer the same fate? Or can he pull off what no one has in the modern era and truly make Ferrari his team? One thing is certain. Ferrari has no choice but to adapt. In today's F1, stagnation is death. Red Bull, McLaren, and even a resurgent Mercedes are constantly evolving, and Ferrari cannot afford to fall into its old habit of resisting change. If they can take Hamilton's feedback and integrate it effectively, we may be looking at a legitimate title threat. But if internal resistance slows their progress, this experiment could unravel before it even begins. Beyond Ferrari, the biggest transformation happening in F1 isn't in Maranello, it's in Grove, England. Williams, once an F1 powerhouse, has spent the last decade in survival mode. But now, they're making big moves, and the world is starting to take notice. Williams shocked everyone by unveiling their car earlier than expected, signaling a new era of ambition. With fresh sponsorship deals, a major overhaul of their factory, and an aggressive investment in engineering talent, this isn't just another attempt to stay afloat. This is a mission to return to the top. The most exciting thing about Williams' transformation isn't just the car, it's their long-term vision. While many teams focus purely on short-term gains, Williams is thinking years ahead. This isn't about scraping together midfield points. This is about winning again. But can they really pull it off? F1 history is littered with once great teams who never quite managed a true comeback. The key difference here? Williams is making all the right moves. Their leadership understands that sustainable success in modern F1 requires more than just a good car. It requires a complete overhaul of infrastructure, strategy, and execution. And while immediate podiums might still be a stretch, this is a team that's laying the foundation for something special. As these massive transformations unfold, one thing looms over the entire F1 landscape: the power struggle at Ferrari. Hamilton versus Leclerc. Who is the true leader of Ferrari? If Ferrari truly has a car capable of fighting for the title, then the battle between Hamilton and Charles Leclerc will define this season. Leclerc has been Ferrari's golden boy since 2019, enduring years of heartbreak, unreliable machinery, and missed opportunities. Now, with what could be a race-winning car, does anyone really think he's going to let Hamilton walk in and take over? Ferrari's team principal, Frederick Vasseur, insists both drivers will start on equal footing. But let's not kid ourselves. This is Formula One. If one driver establishes themselves as the clear front-runner, Ferrari will throw their weight behind them. But who will emerge as that leader? Leclerc has the home field advantage. He knows Ferrari inside and out. He's spent years navigating the inner politics of Maranello, and if this car is genuinely good, he'll have no excuses. This is his moment. Hamilton, however, is a master of psychological warfare. He knows how to bend a team to his will, and if he starts outpacing Leclerc early in the season, Ferrari might have no choice but to build the team around him. The worst-case scenario for Ferrari: a repeat of Alonso versus Hamilton at McLaren in 2007. Two elite drivers locked in battle, tearing the team apart from the inside while Red Bull runs away with the title. Ferrari cannot afford to let that happen. Nigel Mansell, a former Ferrari driver and F1 world champion, believes Hamilton has made the right move at the perfect time. According to him, this switch gives Hamilton a new challenge and a renewed hunger. He even went so far as to say that he expects Hamilton to win his debut race with Ferrari, much like Mansell did in 1989. But for that to happen, Ferrari must deliver a car that's ready to fight from race one. The SF25 has potential, but as we've seen in the past, potential means nothing if Ferrari can't execute when it matters most. They need to get their strategy right, avoid pit stop disasters, and most importantly, ensure they aren't their own worst enemy. If they can do that, Hamilton has a real shot at that elusive 8th title. If they can't, history will repeat itself, and another promising Ferrari season will go up in smoke. And let's not forget the wild card in all of this: McLaren. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri are on fire, and McLaren's development curve is terrifying. If Ferrari hesitates for even a second, McLaren could leapfrog them and become Red Bull's biggest headache. As the 2025 season inches closer, the tension inside Ferrari is brewing like a pressure cooker about to explode. The dynamic between Hamilton and Leclerc is shaping up to be one of the most fascinating teammate battles in modern F1. If the SF25 delivers on its promise, Ferrari will find itself in an impossible balancing act, supporting a 7-time world champion who has already cemented his place in history versus backing a young superstar they've been grooming as the future of the Scuderia. But let's be real here, Leclerc is not Bottas. He's not going to just roll over and play second fiddle. If Ferrari wants to avoid internal chaos, they'll need to set clear boundaries early in the season. The problem: how do you tell a driver like Lewis Hamilton that is not the number one priority? Hamilton is one of the greatest political players in F1 history. He has built entire teams around himself before, and he knows exactly how to manipulate the media, rally the fanbase, and subtly push the team to favor him without ever outright demanding it. Leclerc, meanwhile, has never had to fight this kind of battle before. Sure, he had team disputes with Sebastian Vettel, but by the time that happened, Ferrari had already decided Charles was their golden boy. Now, he's dealing with an entirely different beast. If Leclerc wants to retain his standing within the team, he must dominate Hamilton immediately. He has to outperform him in the first few races, force Ferrari into a tough decision, and ensure that when the crucial moments arrive, he's the one getting the preferential treatment. If he doesn't, Hamilton will take over Ferrari like a virus infecting a host. If Ferrari has learned anything from history, it's that letting two top-tier drivers fight unchecked usually ends in disaster. Alonso versus Hamilton at McLaren in 2007 cost them both the title. Rosberg versus Hamilton at Mercedes in 2016 nearly tore the team apart. Even Vettel versus Webber at Red Bull was borderline catastrophic. Ferrari isn't immune to this chaos, and given their legendary ability to fumble strategic decisions, they might just let this situation spiral out of control. Imagine this: it's the third or fourth race of the season, Hamilton and Leclerc are running P1 and P2. The pit wall needs to decide who gets the favorable strategy. Do they pit Leclerc first, the loyal soldier who has been with the team through thick and thin? Or do they give Hamilton the advantage, the seasoned veteran with proven championship-winning credentials? Either way, someone is walking away furious. And when you're fighting against Red Bull and McLaren, you can't afford to waste time on team drama. Every point will matter this year, and Ferrari will have to be brutally decisive about how they handle this rivalry. But let's step away from Ferrari for a second and talk about the bigger picture in Formula One. Because while all eyes are on Hamilton's Ferrari debut, Red Bull and McLaren are not just sitting around waiting to be dethroned. For the last few years, Red Bull has been the undisputed king of F1. Max Verstappen has been untouchable. The team strategy has been ruthless, and their engineering team has delivered one of the most dominant cars ever seen. But cracks are beginning to show. Red Bull is no longer innovating at the pace they once were. The 2024 RB20 was an evolution of the RB19. Brilliant, yes, but not a revolution. Now, as the 2025 season approaches, McLaren and Ferrari have made aggressive leaps forward, and the whispers in the paddock suggest that Red Bull might not be as dominant as they once were. Verstappen is still the favorite, no doubt. But if Ferrari's rumored 0.4-second gain per lap is real, this could be the closest title fight we've had in years. If Ferrari is the biggest unknown, McLaren is the wild card no one can ignore. In the second half of 2024, McLaren was Red Bull's biggest headache. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri were constantly on Verstappen's tail, and if they had started the season with their updated package, the championship battle could have been much closer. Now, with a full off-season to develop their new car, McLaren has quietly positioned themselves as a legitimate title contender. Their aerodynamic upgrades have reportedly put them within striking distance of Red Bull, and if their new engine package delivers, they might be the real disruptors of 2025. This presents a massive problem for Ferrari. If they spend too much time fighting their own internal battle, McLaren will be more than happy to swoop in and steal their shot at the title. So, here's the million-dollar question. Where does Ferrari actually stack up in this battle? There are only two possible scenarios for Ferrari in 2025. Everything clicks, the SF25 is a rocket, and Ferrari finally puts together a title-winning season. Hamilton and Leclerc play nice, or at least avoid catastrophic infighting, and Ferrari finally ends their championship drought after nearly 2 decades. The team implodes under internal pressure, Red Bull remains too strong, McLaren overtakes them, and 2025 becomes another almost season for Ferrari. Let's be honest, Ferrari's biggest enemy is Ferrari. The car might be fast, but if their decision-making is slow, their strategy is flawed, or their team politics become toxic, they'll waste another golden opportunity. So, let's get to the real question. Is this finally Ferrari's year? Can Hamilton bring back the Schumacher-era dominance? Or will Leclerc rise to the occasion and cement himself as the true leader of Ferrari? Or, plot twist, will McLaren or Red Bull make this entire conversation irrelevant by simply being faster? Leave your thoughts in the comments because 2025 is about to be one of the wildest seasons in F1 history. And if you don't want to miss a second of the action, smash that subscribe button.